The day Facebook went dark. Hi there, I'm Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English with current events and trending topics. This is lesson number 410. JR is the producer, and he has uploaded this full lesson to plainenglish.com/410. What did you do on Monday, October 4th? I know what you didn't do, at least for part of the day. You didn't scroll through Facebook. You didn't post on Instagram. You didn't text friends on WhatsApp. And if you work at Facebook, you probably didn't get much done that day. That's because the full portfolio of Facebook apps, including many of its internal systems, were down for most of the workday here in the Americas. We have an expression today, cut off, and it's Monday, so we have a quote of the week. Let's get going. They are some of the most familiar names on the internet: Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Oculus. Together, they are the portfolio of apps owned by Facebook Inc., one of the world's most valuable companies. And all of them went dark on Monday, October 4th at about 11:30 a.m. New York time. They stayed down for 6 hours. For many of the 3.5 billion users worldwide, the outage meant they couldn't post pictures and videos, give and get likes, text friends, or kill time at work. But for many others, the impact was much more serious. Around the world, people rely on Facebook's apps for critical parts of their lives. Businesses promote products and events in their Facebook groups. Schools and neighborhood groups share important information. Politicians use the site to communicate with constituents. Nonprofits use Facebook apps to provide essential services like outreach, counseling, and meal delivery to people in need. Suicide and domestic abuse hotlines often use WhatsApp to provide counseling services. For many people in rural areas, WhatsApp and Facebook are the internet. Some cell phone services around the world either don't offer traditional web browsing or they charge extra for it. But Facebook's apps are often included in the lowest cost package. For consumers on plans like this, Facebook is the internet and their connection to the world. Other people have given up home phone service altogether, and they rely entirely on WhatsApp to stay connected with the world. Plus, elderly individuals and people not as technically savvy may have been confused and not known about the outage. Facebook is also how many people log into sites that are not Facebook, and that connection wasn't working during the outage. So, people who regularly signed into news sites, streaming services, shopping sites, or other services all were cut off from those sites. The impact was felt especially hard on the smallest businesses, often the one or two person micro businesses that are already stretched thin. Social media and messaging apps have allowed business owners to run their entire operation without a website, without a traditional phone number, or even a physical location. The apps have given them the freedom to run their businesses with low overhead. But these business owners discovered how beholden to just one company they really are. During the outage, delivery drivers couldn't pick up or deliver orders. Small food service companies like bakeries couldn't advertise specials or take orders. Online exercise classes were empty as their customers had no way to find and launch the virtual class link. Streamers who charge for access to their online content suddenly made no money for an entire day. Hairstylists, online coaches, yoga teachers, jewelry makers, house cleaners, and others all lost access to their customers during the outage. Many people took the occasion to download Telegram and Signal, two rival messaging apps. Telegram, in particular, places a high value on user privacy. So, what exactly happened to cause the problem? The outage resulted from a cascade of issues. An engineer at a Facebook data center issued a command that was supposed to inquire about capacity in that data center's servers. But the command had an error in it, and the error accidentally hid all of Facebook's servers from the rest of the internet. In simple terms, all Facebook's servers were working fine. They were just not connected to anything. Facebook has internal tools designed to detect major errors in commands like that, but the tool didn't work in this case. The fix was complicated by the fact that all of Facebook's internal tools for addressing these challenges were also offline. And with 3/4 of the company's workforce working from home, employees had to scramble to get the centers back online. Data centers are heavily protected places. There are many layers of security to protect the equipment and the highly sensitive data flowing in and out of the servers. Facebook employees had to drive to the data centers, clear security on site, and then manually fix the issue. Meanwhile, the company somehow had to keep the public up to date with what was occurring. Embarrassingly, they turned to Twitter to give updates and issue apologies. Comedians had their fun with the situation. Jimmy Fallon poked fun at all the other bad news Facebook had already been experiencing the same week. He said that after their entire site crashed, Facebook should celebrate because that was the best press they'd had in months. Stephen Colbert said that it meant the machines have risen up to take over the world, and they know our thoughts, feelings, friends, location, and banking data. Others noted that while Facebook wasn't working, the rest of the world's employees were surprisingly productive. Here in the US, people don't use WhatsApp to communicate as much as they do elsewhere. It's hard for many people here to fully understand how integral WhatsApp is in daily life in places where phone calls and traditional text messages cost money, web pages don't load on phones, and Facebook is the entire internet. I know from my travels in India and Latin America that for some people, everything is on WhatsApp and Facebook. Their whole business, their whole means of communicating with everyone is WhatsApp, Facebook, and Facebook Messenger. Losing a day of business is bad, especially for individuals who are already stretched thin due to COVID-19. It also makes you wonder about what would happen if this had lasted a week or longer. Today's expression is a phrasal verb, cut off. There are multiple ways to use cut off, but we'll focus on just one meaning today. I'm going to show you how to use it in the active voice and in the passive voice. So let's start with the active voice. To cut something or someone off is to block access to what's important. So imagine there's a thunderstorm and a tree falls over a road in a residential neighborhood. There's only one road between the neighborhood and the rest of the town. If the tree fell onto the street and blocked traffic, then the downed tree would cut the neighborhood off from the rest of the town. The tree blocked access to the neighborhood. The tree cut the neighborhood off from the rest of the town. It's much more common, though, to use cut off with the passive voice. The residents of that neighborhood were cut off from the rest of the town while the tree blocked the road. Residents were cut off. That's the passive voice, and that's the way we most often use cut off. During the Facebook outage, businesses were cut off from their customers. The outage blocked access to their customers. The businesses were cut off. And they weren't the only ones. A lot of people who live in small towns rely on WhatsApp to communicate with friends and loved ones. We can say many people were cut off from their friends and family during the outage. Access to their friends and family was blocked. I have 3 friends who have either just had babies or are going to have a baby very soon. New parents can feel cut off from the world in the first few weeks after the baby comes. Why? Because every moment of their day and night is now consumed with the baby and the baby's needs. It's easy to feel cut off from the world because you're not seeing your typical network of people. You're probably not reading the news, and you're not running into friends and neighbors. Is your family spread out, or does everyone live in the same town? If everyone in your family lives in the same town and you move away, you might feel cut off from your family. That will probably happen if everyone typically communicates in person and if everyone visits everyone else's house all the time, or if there are big family dinners and parties every week. If you move away to another city, you'll probably feel cut off from your family. In this case, nobody specifically cut you off. It's more of a feeling. You feel cut off even if nobody specifically excludes you. These days, I live in a big city with very good public services, and we obviously have cell phone service. But I remember when I was growing up, if there was a big storm, we'd sometimes lose phone and TV service. And in the really bad storms, we'd lose electricity altogether. And that can certainly make you feel cut off from the world. Inmates in prison feel cut off from society or cut off from the world. They may get visitors occasionally, some TV time, and they may even get some time on the internet, but they are really cut off from the rest of the world. They don't have good access to the rest of the world. We talked a while ago about India's election and how they send election workers to the most remote villages in India so that everyone can vote. One team had to take a voting machine on a boat through alligator-infested waters. Do you remember that? Some towns in India aren't connected by road to the rest of the country. Those towns are really cut off from the rest of their country. We also talked about the town of Hyder, Alaska. What was unique about Hyder, Alaska? The only road going out of town goes through Canada. There is no road connection from Hyder, Alaska to any other place within the United States, their own country. To get anywhere, you must cross an international border. Well, normally, that's a routine occurrence. But during the worst of the pandemic, people in Hyder were cut off from the world. They couldn't cross the border except for a very limited number of reasons, like medical emergencies. One family member could cross the border to buy supplies once a week. That's it. Flying anywhere was out of the question. The residents of Hyder were really cut off from the United States, and that is probably the best example of cut off that I can think of right now. Today's quote of the week is this: "Fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people so full of doubts." That's from Bertrand Russell, a British mathematician. He says, "Fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people so full of doubts." Well, that's all for today, Monday, October 25th, 2021. How did you survive the Facebook outage? Those of you in Asia, you lucky ducks, you slept through all the chaos. In Europe, this was early in the evening, so it disrupted prime texting time. In most of the Americas, it was mid-morning through the afternoon. I survived. I hope you did too. If there's another outage and you ever find yourself in need of something to do, now you can explore 410 English lessons on plainenglish.com. They are organized by category and keyword. The keyword one is cool. So today's expression was cut off. And at the top of the transcript for today's lesson, you'll see that one of the keywords is cut. If you click on cut, you'll see all the other times we talked about an expression or phrasal verb with the word cut. So you'll see cut it close, cut down on, cut back on, cut corners, cut a deal, and have your work cut out for you. So look for those keywords at the top of the page. It's another great way to explore all the content at plainenglish.com, and the keywords are available for all free members. So make sure you join as a free member, and you'll be able to explore our lesson history this way too. That's all for you at plainenglish.com. Now, coming up on Thursday, don't call it a hostage swap, but 3 people are home after spending over 1,000 days detained in foreign countries. 1 returned home to China, and 2 returned to Canada within minutes of each other. We'll talk about the Huawei executive, the Canadian diplomat, and the Canadian businessman who all caught flights home this month. That's Thursday on Plain English. See you then.